this is your August 24 soul story. If you've got a sun, rising or moon in the sign, I hope these are going to be some helpful messages for you. Happy solar returns if you have a birthday this month, Virgo. We are going to open up for you with the energy of the Knight of Cups. I think if you can move into August with a curiosity, a sense of acceptance and a trust, then you are going to be able to navigate the twists and turns far more effectively. We have Venus shifting into your sign on the 4th, I think helping that Knight of Cups and his vision quest that is wanting to be recognized in your world. We also have a Mercury retrograde beginning in your sign before it moves into Leo on the 14th. And as your natural ruler, you know, whenever these cycles happen, it's an invitation not to get frustrated, not to let the overwhelm or the sense of becoming overly critical with yourself, particularly in terms of your progress or your ability to find a way through what feels like perhaps in August some, I'm not going to say insurmountable challenges, but there's definitely like an intensity and a feeling of being at times blocked. Now, what I'll say is the Knight of Cups has an eternal optimism that I think we can adopt really well through this month. And as we approach particularly that new moon in Leo on the 4th, the same day that Mercury goes back spinning and Venus moves into your sign, there's a moment here for you to say, okay, well, how am I going to deal with this? What is my attitude going to be? How am I going to move into this month? And if you can almost like approach things as if you were seeing them for the first time, I think that is going to be an enormous help for you, because sometimes all the experience that we have, the wisdom and the hindsight and all of the things, like, isn't always the answer, isn't always the most helpful thing, because it can make us more jaded, it can make us more critical or have a harsher judgment or more resistance or caution. And I think the Knight of Cups, in the sort of hopeless romantic energy that he can bring forth to life sometimes, just like endlessly believing where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that the freshness of that is going to be super helpful for you. So that new moon in Leo invites you to consider all possibilities, and there's definitely a feeling of divine timing coming in August, which is something that can work absolutely in your favor. It can also be the source of frustration for you, because, you know, where things may feel to you as if they're being delayed or held back or sidelined, you know, there's a moment here where a sacred pause can say, okay, well, if I can't control these circumstances, what can I control right now? And I think if you can also in those moments appreciate just how far you've come, again, this whole season is going to be teaching you much more, and you're going to be in a place where you can actually receive it rather than sort of fixating on things that feel like they're going to be a root cause of like frustration or discord for your energy, right? Now, you do have approaches. Now, maybe it's people are interested in what you have to say, what you have to offer, what you're creating, or who you are as a person. And I think that energy is also something to harness and to leverage. In fact, I think leverage is a beautiful word to kind of really embrace and adopt for August. Leveraging sometimes the more difficult circumstances, or where we feel like our back is up against the wall, or, you know, we're very aware of situations that we don't want, because that can be an incredibly powerful motivating force. And so where we have that, along with people that are expressing an interest in you, then you have these like golden doors of opportunity. And I think there are these portals of possibility that come in thick and fast in August. Of course, we're going to work through the 8-8 manifesting time with Lionsgate. And, you know, this for you, especially Virgo, you know, as you work with that 12th house energy in Leo season, is about sort of putting something to rest, like tying up the loose ends, and as much as you can, like making peace with where you are, because that is the most effective strategy to give you the power and the momentum for the things that you truly desire and what you are trying to manifest. Eight of Wands tells me, look, the messages and the news, the communication, the offers that are coming to you, like these are really powerful. These have depth and soul and heart and a type of energy that you want to work with, you want to cultivate and nurture and foster. Now, there might be a part of you that says, I want this so bad, but I feel like I'm not in a position to say yes. Okay, so there could be circumstances through August, because we're definitely going to be feeling this kind of desire for freedom versus like the weight of responsibility, the duty, the obligations that we have in place. And again, you know, some of the retrograde energy, but also the intensity astrologically and some of the conversations playing out in the skies are going to mean that you feel like you're not in a position to say yes to something. Now, that's like one perspective. If we can kind of zone out and know that divine order is in motion, then again, you can find a place of being perfectly okay with where you are, knowing that you're not missing the significance or the enormity of what's showing up for you, and kind of almost like handing it off to the universe to deal with some of the things that you feel you're not able to control or influence at this time. That would be the best way to approach, as well as what we're seeing, as if you were seeing something for the first time. So you can bring an exuberance and positivity and an enthusiasm to situations that's definitely going to be needed in order to sustain your interest and your motivation. Now, around that 88, we also have Juno, the asteroid goddess, moving into Libra, where she is the natural ruler. And so there's something from a justice perspective that also feels like it's being flagged up for you around this time. Three of Wands tells me it's something that is, I want to say it's like on your destiny path. It's something that you've been and you are being prepared for, okay? And Juno's like helping to... I want to like say smooth the waters or balance out a situation. So if a conversation needs to happen, if an agreement needs to take place, if something needs to be sorted from a legal perspective, like it's in your favor. Something is working in your favor around that time from a karmic perspective. What you need to bring to the table is the confidence and the self-belief. And I think, as I said, because this is something that you have been prepared for, or there are things that are going on behind the scenes that are helping you to feel that this is possible, you are going to have to kind of take that brave step. We always look at big soulful goals when we're working with that Leo energy. And a lot of this happens for you behind the scenes because there's a sort of intrinsic need to heal something before you can almost like give yourself permission to like move forward into that next chapter and as you approach your solar return. So again, this feeling of perhaps being held back before you're allowed to progress with something, you know, and you can interpret that in a source of frustration, but much better to just realize that everything is being put in the right order to enable you to feel like I'm going to get a clear run, or I'm going to be able to implement and integrate and embody all of the things that I've learned up to this point. I think you're also looking further down the horizon. I think you're widening your possibility, you're expanding your mind and thinking about, you know, what more is there? What more could there be for me in this area of my life, or the entirety of my life? And, you know, I think August has some deeper soul searching going on for you, and you will be deeply reflective. Now, when we come into mid-month, things get a little bit more interesting in terms of some of the intensity that you're starting to you know, feel into. We've got Mars conjunct Jupiter happening on the 14th. Mercury then comes out of your sign and moves into Leo on the 14th. So a little bit of a release in terms of some of the more cerebral intensity and overthinking. But also this deep desire to want to kind of let go of something. And, you know, you've perhaps held on to it for an incredibly long time. And that retrograde energy is going to take you back to make you really do the work necessary in order to completely free and liberate yourself. But in the midst of doing that, you're also then feeling like, I'm not completely free. Like, I've done this, I've sort of approached it in all of the right ways, I've done the inner work, and then still there are things that are kind of holding me in place. And we've got that energy, particularly as we then approach Mars with Saturn and Jupiter squaring Saturn a few days later. So there's just a lot of these conversations energetically taking place that are asking you to be resilient and to have some fortitude and to dig deep. Now, strength tells me that you absolutely have what it takes to be able to sort of move through those more turbulent energies around the mid-month, and the ways in which they might be triggering you. Look to your own natal chart to kind of see how that's going to play out for you. But also know that whatever is personal is also true for the collective. And, as you seek to deal with things and acknowledge and do the work, and remember we talked about having curiosity, acceptance and trust as being the sort of mantra to really help you move through this month. You have the strength, so you basically are given what you need in order to move through that set of circumstances. I do think that you're going to need a new strategy. And I do think that the strategy is also one that's about helping you to find some sense of continuous emotional balance with regards to this. Because if we have a scenario where you want something and you feel like you're not able to attain it, achieve it, or come into alignment with it yet, the way that it seems to be impacting in the emotional stakes for you could kind of knock you out of balance with yourself a little bit. And, with regards to that, I think it's important for you to also bring some perhaps new boundaries into being. We're going to be approaching the full moon in Aquarius on the 19th, and some of these more tense aspects are kind of forcing you to address certain things. They're kind of triggering you or riling you up in certain ways. But what we do have with Aquarius is the access to remarkable creative solutions that perhaps wouldn't have been available to us previously, but we really need to let go. And it's about, we understand the process of surrender and what that means, but to truly kind of allow it to play out in a particular situation in your life might be the thing that you're clinging on really tightly to, and you're being asked by the universe to address in a more specific way than perhaps you've allowed yourself to up to this point, right? We've got the Nine of Wands, and she's sitting in a very open, receptive energy here. Typically for me, the Nine of Wands is telling me though that there's a depletion, and so there's a need to kind of open up to receive more energy, to call in more white light, to allow yourself to be sort of plugged back into source, because there are situations, people perhaps, things that are arising, especially around that full moon, that could feel a little bit draining for you, okay? Now, even though we're talking about some of these tense aspects, a lot of squares coming up through the month of August, delays, as more of these retrograde planets are kicking in and really kind of inviting that inward inquiry for us to pour back over things, we can use this as a powerful sort of launch pad towards more clarifying understanding of the direction that we do want to go. So like preparing and setting everything up, getting things all aligned so that when the time comes for that green light to, come back into view for you, there's no regret, and there's nothing that you kind of need to sit on. It's just like everything is amped and prepped and ready to go. And I sort of feel you kind of reviewing and considering that through the month of August. But like, let's just be clear, when we are moving through energetic experiences and we feel like we're making progress, and sometimes we then bump up against situations like this that slow everything right down to like a grind, where it's just kind of like, what was that even about? What was that for? Like, why was I called to sort of move off in this direction? And all of a sudden I'm not seeing any traction, any momentum, any kind of real positive indicators that I made the right choice, and you start to waver or doubt on your own intuitive knowing, on the signposts that you're receiving, on guidance that's come through to you. And it's like you're just not seeing the bigger picture. And that's what I want you to take from August. August is sort of almost like it's zoned right in, and it's given you kind of one particular physical experience. But if you were able to take a massive step back and just kind of see everything from that higher awareness, from your higher self. And perhaps that's the conversation to be repeatedly having every day, just checking with your higher self, like, show me the big picture here. What do I need to see in the big picture? Leo is so helpful for enabling us to do that. So as we look at that big picture, then we start to say, okay, now I get it. And we stop fighting against some of the things that feel like they are coming in to stop us, when actually they're coming in to support us. They're saying, hey, whoa, slow down a little minute. There's something else that needs to come into effect here. Or there's another event or experience that you need to have. There's something that you need to attain so that you're even more ready, even more open, even more activated in order to immerse yourself into what's coming, right? So try not to fight against the way that things show up for you this month. Easier said than done. When Mercury goes direct on the 28th, it'll definitely help. I always think it's tough for you in Gemini when these cycles come in, because they affect you so much with it being your ruler. But as the sun shifts into your sign on the 22nd, we also have Vesta, asteroid goddess, moving into your sign on the 24th. You've already got Venus in your sign. And I think, you can work with this gathering of energy, and it just starts to feel like, okay, things are starting to make a little bit more sense for me. You'll look at your losses, your perceived losses, right? You'll look at the areas of your life where you think it's not enough, right? This isn't enough. And you'll start to create an action plan, and you'll start to process more clearly than you have all year, in fact, Virgo, as to what it's going to take, or what you need to do, or what you need to let go of or release in order to rectify a situation. But remember what we said, the most important thing is that you want to make peace with where you are with things. So regardless of how that 5 is showing up, and typically it can be that feeling of loss or scarcity, or just not enough, or something is incredibly depleted, right? So finances, health, emotions. But August is one of these months. They're like temporary challenges and setbacks that we can kind of use from a contrasting perspective to create desires that are even more powerful. And because we've got these huge portals of energy opening for us this month, then miracles can occur with this. So I think there's almost a necessity to have these type of experiences coming up, because we need that leverage. We need that kind of that resistance to kind of push against, if you like. So be mindful of it. Know that it's going to give you greater clarity and awareness. And actually, one of the things that I see, or I kind of sense you saying to yourself, is just like, enough. Like, enough already. Like, this is not happening again, or I'm drawing a line, or like, this is not my experience anymore. And so this could also represent sort of like an echo from the past. But what I will say with the 9 and the 5, it's depletion energy. So you got to also be very mindful of ensuring that you're not letting your energy leak in situations, that people are not siphoning it, or drawing on it from a sort of energy vampire perspective. But also you're just being mindful of finances, of anything that has an energetic vibration, and just making sure that it's being looked after, so that you are not then feeling into that depletion. Even with that though, again, we still saw the strength card sort of showing up in a really powerful way for you. So, it's not like it gets to the point where you're at ground zero. There's a requirement needed to then keep topping up. Remember, she's opening up to what more can come in. But like I said, around that full moon, sometimes we also have to let go of things that we're clinging on to, because we think, this is still helping us, but actually it's not, and we can get that real clarity. It's just like we think it's helping, but actually it's hurting us. And that can be a difficult realization to come to. But again, you're being given creative, really remarkable solutions to sort of how to navigate, how to mitigate situations as well, that can help improve your overall well-being. So pay attention to what's showing up and what's coming through for you in regards to that, right? So if you're new to the channel, our last 3 cards we're going to cover in the extended version of my reading, and you will find that link in the comment and description box underneath. We talk for another 30 minutes or so. We'll look at a relationship card and a personal question for you. So I hope you'll join me. It helps me to keep showing up to do the free readings. So really appreciate your investment. I'm just going to go ahead and clarify these cards, see which direction will take this reading for you, Virgo. Be sure to check out over my website, romywiser.com, my Sacred Soul support. I've got Lionsgate 88 meditations to help you with your rituals. You'll also find my oracle deck and my book, Life Soul Vision and Moon Musings, and ways to work with me as well. Okay, some nice majors coming in for you here. What about Strength? King of Wands. World. Nice. The Sun, the World, Justice, Wheel of Fortune. These are great. Okay. You'll find all of the decks that I use listed below as well. Okay, we're going to look at Life Soul Vision Oracle, which is my own deck. Let's see what it has to bring to the table. Alchemize the ache, the wishing tree, enlightened in the exhale, Queen of Earth, solstice, energy conversations. Okay, one more oracle for Virgo for the month of August. We have the card of returning, spiral journey, growth, renewal, healed. Beautiful. Okay, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I hope you'll join me for the extended, and I will see you again next time, Virgo. Take good care.